Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the More Sugar Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Callender, where we are here to have conversations to help, heal, and encourage. We are on episode 3 of Soul Sessions, coping with the loss of a mother. And today we have the baby of the group, Fatima Ruffin. And I was most thankful that Fatima said yes, is because out of everybody in the group, I believe your mom passed away the most recently, if I'm not mistaken. And so it would, in my opinion, it would be particularly hard to speak about something like that at such an early time. So I was really thankful that she said yes. So my wife told me not to talk too much, so I'm gonna let you take it away, sis. Tell us your name and about your mom. When did she pass away and how she passed away?
So my name is Fatima Ruffin, and my mother, Cynthia Harris, passed away March 2021. Just to give a little backdrop, my mom was diagnosed with a rare condition called Cari malformation, where she was diagnosed about 20 years ago. So she had chronic pain, round the clock, chronic pain. So she was limited to physical things, like she wasn't able to work. She was constantly in pain. However, she did not pass from that condition. She passed from sepsis. So she developed an infection. And what a lot of people don't know is that Christmas morning of 2020 is when she actually went into the hospital. Right.
So that's like the middle of the pandemic. That was height.
Right. So we gonna unpack it because it's some stuff to unpack.
Okay.
So she went into the hospital Christmas of 2020 with sepsis, and she stayed in the hospital from Christmas morning until the day she passed away.
Okay, for people that I'm gonna stop for people that don't know what sepsis is. Sepsis is an infection, right?
Right.
Of the blood.
Of the blood.
Okay. And so she was just at home. Like, how do you know you wake up and you have sepsis? Like, how does that happen?
So, my mother had a bad habit of experiencing things and not letting us know.
I wouldn't just blame it on her. I would blame it on Black people as a culture.
Right.
Yes.
So, so she would be feeling, ill, and she wouldn't let us know. And
Gotcha.
like I said, Christmas morning, my sister just so happened to go by the house because I normally make breakfast Christmas morning to pick her up. And she said that she was tired. And my sister just didn't feel right with her. So she actually doubled back and went in and she was passed out.
No.
She was passed out. So we rushed over there. My husband, before EMT got there, he was working. Yeah. He was working on her. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, so she went into the hospital Christmas morning. She was stabilized. She had lost a lot of weight. They had to sedate her for a few days. She was sedated. They gave her a series of antibiotics to try to get the infection. She actually was, after like 2 weeks or so, she was transferred to Kessler, but then it was like they couldn't get this infection under control. So, and then, it was like touch and go. 1 minute she was fine. Then the next minute she wasn't. It was like they could not get rid of the infection.
So is it as frustrating for you as it is for me when a doctor who's supposed to be not God but all knowing, you went to school all these years, this is your jam.
Mm-hmm.
And you gonna tell me I don't understand when a doctor tells me I don't know. But I
I don't know.
respect them enough to say they don't know. But it's not very comforting. I remember once a doctor told me to pray, and that was so comforting because they always lean on their education. I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted that. But
Right.
I just want
So
to know that had to be frustrating for a doctor to say I don't,
they didn't know. They didn't know where the infection started. They didn't know where it came from. Um, and not only that, not telling us that they didn't know where it came from. Again, we in the middle of the pandemic, and it was like I couldn't really see her, so I couldn't really gauge
You
like
couldn't look at her.
what was really going on. So
Mm-hmm.
that was hard. So I couldn't gauge what was going on. And to keep going back, it was so fast. They discharged her to Kessler, and then the very same day, Kessler calling us like, wait a minute, she needs to go back. Like she's
It's too
not
much for us.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking blood transfusions, you name it, it happened. You name
And
it,
this
it
is like
happened.
this is the span between after Christmas and now we're going into 2021.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you're going to do this through the holidays, your New
Through the
Year's, everything.
holidays. And so it felt like
Anytime.
the Twilight Zone, because
Yeah.
the week that she passed away, one day, the beginning of the week, I'm getting a phone call talking about discharge plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of days later, I'm getting another phone call saying, you need to bring your family to the hospital to say your farewells. So it's like,
did you get a chance to say goodbye, or did she not make it because I don't know what's better, gathering around to say goodbyes or getting there and the person is gone. It all depends
so
on
the
how you
phone
built.
call, the phone call of, come up to, at that point she was sedated. So
Just a body, basically.
she was in a nursing home, and it's just a lot of unanswered questions that we have, because she was in a nursing home, no visitation, just phone calls. And, she was sounding like herself at one point, because I don't know, sepsis make you lethargic.
Yes.
So she was sounding like herself. She was in her right state of mind. And then I knew something was wrong the morning of, because she called me at like 4:00 in the morning saying like, oh, I'm on my way to physical therapy. And I'm like, it's 4:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So then I realized, like, wait a minute, she's confused again. Like something is wrong. Something is wrong. And then, so I called the nursing home and I'm like, listen, my mother calling, it seemed like something that she doesn't seem like she's coherent. Like, what's going on? So they say to me, oh no, she's fine. She's in physical therapy. So this was like, so she called me at 4:00. 8:00, I finally get somebody on the phone. They're like, oh, she's at physical therapy. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe she was just up. I don't know. Right. And then a couple hours after that, they call in and saying, we about to transport her to St. Barnabas because we think she had a stroke. And I'm like, a stroke? So I go to St. Barnabas, and she's a little delusional, but she was like in and out. She knew who I was, then she didn't know who I was. Like, she was lethargic. And, we talking, and I sat with her for a few hours, and then it was like, you gotta go.
You and her?
Just me
Just
and her.
You and her? Okay.
And she's just me and her. And she said, they told me that, it was time for me to go because she was still technically in the ER. They hadn't given her a room yet. And as I'm leaving, she said to me, I said, Ma, I'll see you tomorrow. And she said to me, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
And when I walked out that door, I felt very uneasy.
Mm-hmm.
I knew.
So if they would have let you stay, would you have just stayed with her the entire time? Because some people don't want to see death.
No, I would have stayed with her the entire time.
Yeah.
And then
so COVID is, I don't know if I want to say this, but because I'm gonna have to put the X-rated on the thing, but COVID is a motherfucker, man. COVID done damage without you having it because of the things that it prevented people from doing. So had it not been, we've been in the middle of a pandemic, you would have been able to sit there and hold your mother's hand the entire time.
And when she was in her right state of mind and coherent, she would constantly say to me on the phone, like, it's always somebody new. It's always somebody new. It's always somebody new. Talking about as far as the people who was caring for her at the nursing home.
Right.
And so it didn't dawn on me until after that people were either quitting, people were either getting sick, or people were scared to really care because of COVID. So they was probably doing the bare minimum.
Right.
So that made, those were things that I was thinking about, after the fact.
And that's kind of like to give yourself comfort. Like she wasn't out of her mind as much as I thought she was.
As much as I thought she was.
Right. And when she said she tired, then you have to respect that because she don't mean she tired in the sense of I'm tired of sitting in this ER. We're talking about a 20-year disease of dilapidating pain.
Right.
Basically.
And
so she's allowed to get tired.
Yes. So I had to kind of accept that.
Mm-hmm.
It was at that moment I had to accept it. I had to start to accept that when I left that room, that is a possibility that she won't be here.
And because she looked
me dead in my eyes and said, I will never forget the look. I will never forget the look. Never.
And said she's tired.
Mm-hmm.
And you drive home.
Drive home.
You might don't remember. This is off script, by the way.
No,
you might don't remember what I'm asking. About the question about what was playing on the radio. Did you listen to a song? Did you drive in silence?
I drove in silence.
Okay, that's why I said it's off script. I wanted to ask you what song was playing on the radio.
Nope, I drove in silence, and I immediately knew that I had people. I'm the oldest. I have children. So I immediately knew I drove in silence because I immediately knew that my grief was going to be pushed to the side. Ooh. Because I had to cater to. Yep.
So you knew right away you couldn't grieve.
I knew right away.
So you like talking to yourself, get it, like, you can't even say get it together because you never even fell apart yet.
Nope.
Wow.
I couldn't because the doctors, I had to make those hard decisions. When I listened to Tanya, when I listened to Mish, we talking 20-something years ago. We talking 30-something years ago. Both were teenagers. I'm the oldest. I'm an adult. Right. So I was the one to have to make those hard decisions. Those are hard decisions.
Now, what decisions are you talking about?
Well, first one, the the do not resuscitate, or, whether or not you want to resuscitate or do not resuscitate.
Mm-hmm.
That was hard. And of course, quite naturally, my selfish self was like, oh no, do whatever you got to do.
Save her.
To save her. But then when somebody broke it down to me, what actually happens,
mm-hmm.
I said, you know what? Wait, T for time. Her body been through enough. Her body been through enough. That's too much. And I just, in my head, what she said to me, I'm tired.
You're one of the few people that I know that I talk to that make that rational, that decision. Like, no, just let him go. And I was at work the other day and I fixed medical equipment, and I was in a dialysis clinic and I was looking at a defibrillator. And when people go to dialysis, it's a life maintaining procedure. Mm-hmm. And on the defibrillator, there's a list of names. The first time I seen it in my life, there's a list of names of people who have DNRs. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking around this clinic and I'm imagining, it just went through my mind, like, God forbid, if something happens to someone here, their loved one won't see them again because of a DNR. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you go home. And you got the call the next day?
The next day, it went from we doing everything that we can to, and I'm talking within an hour or so. It went from we doing everything that we can to, like, come to the hospital. Her organs are shutting down.
So that's how sepsis move, though.
Mm-hmm.
Sepsis move like that.
Mm-hmm. So again, I had to hold it together. It felt like,
who did you go back to the hospital with?
My husband, my sister, my aunt, my grandmother. At that point she was sedated, that she was just really being kept alive by the machines.
And so then now,
here's the second decision.
So everyone's gathered around, everyone's saying, whatever prayers or their goodbyes. Is that how that scene is?
Yep, that's how that scene is. And my brother, my youngest brother, he lives in Atlanta, and he called over the phone and just, we put the phone, he talked, he said his piece. And then 5 minutes after that, they called her time of death.
So she was like, there was no hookup up to no machine or?
Mm-mm. Nope.
And it's just silence.
Just silence.
For a very long time.
For a very long time.
Are you the first one to walk away? Or the last one in the room?
I was the first one to walk away, but then I went back.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and my sister, last one in the room.
Do you feel, this is good because, like, I know I'm saying this is good like gossip, but this is good like, because we so off track, but I want a lot of people dealt with grief and they get a phone call, that moment hit different.
It is.
Do you think you felt her spirit? Like, did you feel her spirit in the room?
Yes, because when I looked at her, I never seen her so peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Once it was called. Once the time of death or before?
Before the time of death.
Okay.
Never saw her so peaceful. Like I said, she suffered with pain round the clock. I'm talking about phone calls in the middle of the night, cries, and like I'm in pain, and just trying to even just get herself with a little bit of strength just to
cook, because that's all she wanted to do.
To do important things, like to do special things like Christmas, Thanksgiving, graduations, baby showers, but at that day, I never seen her so at peace, like no crying, no, holding, her legs, because, she would get it throughout her body. So, she would constantly like grabbing her legs and, so it was just, she was just at peace. She was just at peace.
And so you go home.
I go home. My oldest son was at school.
And you still saying like you can't break down.
Can't break down.
And you have a high paced job.
So here's the thing. It's funny that you mentioned that, because when you asked me to do this, that was what I immediately thought about. In the moment, I deal with grief and trauma on a daily basis.
On a daily basis. That's not even yours. You got to carry.
On a daily basis. So I'm numb.
Do they offer you guys any therapy?
Not really.
Okay.
They do enough just to say, oh no, we gave you this.
Gotcha.
So
just to say they
not really.
For them. They check in the box for themselves.
Not to go off topic. Not really. And I'm gonna say no, not the proper. We deal with deaths and traumatic things, and no, not really. So dealing with that on a daily basis has caused me to be numb to grief, to trauma.
You got to put it somewhere though.
I know.
And I was just seeing you on social media saying that I'm taking my days. You gotta go. You have to put that somewhere, or if you don't, it will put you down, or it will start to manifest itself. Like, look at my face. It starts to. I internalize everything. Most people born. Well, I don't. From my research, most people, vitiligo is an autoimmune disease, and it's from internal stress. For me, it was grief and feelings that I just didn't want to let
come out.
I'm telling you, you have to put it somewhere.
I'm better.
You're better.
I'm better because I want to be better.
Okay, because you want to be better. So I'm going to ask you, this is question number 1. What helps you when you feel overwhelmed? Because you do a lot. When I used to be driving around Newark in the morning, dropping jacks off, and I see you over here, and then the next minute, from update, you over there. Like, so what helps you when you feel overwhelmed by grief?
I have to learn to say no.
Okay.
I have to learn, and when I listen to Tamisha and Tanya talk about boundaries, and Tamisha saying that she can only give unless she got an overflow. And then I got, my support. I just disconnect from whatever the thing is that's overwhelming me.
Okay.
And I have to say to myself, like, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay and most of the time, it's not even my stuff. It's other people's stuff.
That's some shit. But the nerve of people, and I'm not talking about work stuff. We're not talking about work stuff.
No, I'm talking about.
You just lost your mother, and I believe your grandmother passed away recently, right?
So in a 3-year span, 2019, I lost my maternal grandmother. 2020, I lost my paternal biological grandmother. 2021, I lost my mother. 2022, I lost my great grandmother.
Okay, that was your great grandmother.
And
That's a lot of
then,
wisdom that's being just leaving the
right,
earth.
not to mention 10 months after my mother passed away, one of my closest friends, her mother passed away. And then 2 weeks after that, which will be coming up on the anniversary of my best friend's, her mother passed away.
All these mother figures.
Right. So it was just like, it was just hit at the hit at the hit at the hit at the hit.
And you just still going.
I'm still going.
Because you don't want to put it down.
Because I want to heal and not hurt.
Well, one thing Tanya did say is you got to feel that hurt, though.
I feel it. I just don't feel it all at once. So I'm good. I'm good. Yes. I'm afraid to feel it all at once.
Are you afraid you'll get lost in it?
I'm afraid that, yes, I'm afraid I'm going to get lost in it. And I can't get lost in it because I have people who's dependent on me. I'm afraid that I'm going to get lost in it. It's funny because when in your book, chapter 5, which that's my favorite chapter. I read it often.
I do too, like it's a reference book.
I read it often. I got a story about that too. But chapter 5, when you said your mom said that stress,
grief,
depression
is a luxury.
Is a luxury that, and
50 Cent just said that.
That's how I feel. I got kids to take care of. I got a job. I got things to attend to. I can't feel it all at once.
But there's two sides to a coin.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't, then from years of me not putting it down, I have the worst anxiety in the world because of the grip that fear and grief has on me. I have the worst anxiety in the world.
So that's where I'm kind of going. And yeah. I'm checking myself on it because I'm realizing that's where I'm going. Like,
but no one would know this. Like, we wasn't having this conversation. You literally just bought a house. You know how stressful that process is?
No one would ever notice. But
no one would notice. You're amazing at your job. You're an amazing wife, friend. You just said you check on everybody else, so you don't have time to do with your own shit.
Mm-hmm. No one would notice. But
what would your mother say to you if she knew you was doing all this right now?
So
that goes like my second question. Like, what is the best advice she ever given you? I know she had to tell you, like, come on.
So that's the thing. My mother had me at 15.
I never knew that. I didn't know your mother was that young.
Mm-hmm. I'm 43. My mother passed away when she was 57.
Wow.
So my mother, she wasn't a person of many words. So this behavior is what I watched.
Got you. So she taught you about what she did.
Yes.
And not what she said.
Yes. So no matter what was going on.
For a 15-year-old though.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She had me at 15, 2 months before her 16th birthday. Mm-hmm. So that's how she wasn't a person of many words. She didn't give advice, but I watched her cater to everybody. I watched her cater to everybody but herself. But
so technically you're following the pattern.
technically, I started following a pattern, and I realized that I started following a pattern. So I had to make the decision to break that traditional curse. So I'm on the path to that.
So that's what you remember about her, right? So what do you hope your sons remember about her?
I hope. So just to back up a little bit, my niece, I have my niece. My niece lived in the house with my mother.
Okay. How old is she?
And she's 11.
Okay. So now you got 3 kids.
I got 3 kids.
Okay.
So I hope that they remember that how much she loved them, how much she was, the smallest little thing. She was proud. She was proud of every little thing, and not just my children, but, my sister's children. She was proud of everything that they did. Everything. No matter how big, how small. She was proud. And I want them to remember that, how kind and gentle she was.
Right.
And how much she loved them. She loved them. She loved them.
And that's the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to clean out the house.
Ooh. Ooh. It took me months to clean out the house.
Because you didn't want to go back there?
Yep. I was going back there because I had, I was checking on things, going back there.
Right.
But checking on things is different from trying to figure out what to keep, what to throw away.
Right.
And when you finish unpacking, that's it.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of it.
You never coming into this house ever again. We all had keys to my mother's house. So we come in, scream my name, Mom. And to think that that's never gonna happen again.
Ain't going through there. Is there anything in hers that you're attached to? You pick up something and say, I'm absolutely not throwing this away. Like in my book, I talk about cleaning out my cousin's house, and there was so many things that I could have taken.
So it's funny because I absolutely will not get rid of her vinyls. My mother had a bin of vinyls.
That's so dope.
I'm absolutely not ever getting rid of that. And she had Essence and Ebony magazines. Those I have a whole bin because that was her favorite.
Wow.
That was.
I'm coming over when I come to Jersey. You got a record player?
Mm-hmm. It's funny because that's what my young son
on records, and I'm flip through the Ebony magazines.
Everything, and it's crazy. So remember, I said that Christmas morning. That's when she went into the hospital. So I never even got to give her Christmas gift, which was a Michael Jackson Off the Wall vinyl and a Whitney Houston vinyl.
This heavy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you open the gift? I would love the gift wrapped.
It stayed wrapped for a long time.
Yeah.
It stayed wrapped for a long. I might have just took it out the bag when I was getting ready to move. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I had to sit with that for a minute because with every person's story, it brings back a memory, of course, of something that I've been through, and the cleaning out of the house is so, especially since your husband gave her like CPR there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and her pot.
And
I took her.
you got pot. You got pot too.
A
Old
pot.
school pots is the best.
Oh, that's the green pot, the collard green pot. My mother had a pot that she would only make collard greens in.
She was known for getting down, and that's
nothing else. She would make collard greens in it. Nothing else went in that pot. I got that pot.
You got the pot.
I got the pot.
In my book, Shaking My Grits, Grief to Gratitude Through Grace, I told the world, grief was like an elephant standing on my chest. How does it feel physically to you?
Heavy.
Same,
it was so heavy.
I'm side on you because you're saying was.
It was heavy.
I can tell you, of course, you're still carrying some of it.
Oh, it was so. In the first couple weeks, it felt like an out of body experience. So it was like I felt different things at different times.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like an out of body experience. I promise you, if you remember the morning you came, the day of the funeral, I think you came there about 8:45.
And you know what's crazy? When I showed up, it wasn't before 8:45.
But I wasn't dressed.
That's what was bugging me out because I had just dropped Jax off, and I knew what time it was late, but the funeral was supposed to be starting soon, right? And I was saying to myself,
I wasn't dressed.
I said if I swing by, I might can't make the funeral, but if I swing by, I could probably catch y'all like going out the door or something. But it's okay because that day I haven't been to a funeral, even ones especially ones I'm in charge of, where we have left on time. Somebody needs to find a sock, some pantyhose, a tie, but it's something. It's not like you're going to a concert. You don't want to go.
Everybody was ready with me. I wasn't dressed. I didn't want to get dressed.
So you just sit on the edge of the bed like that Fox meme, like
when my son said Amanda is downstairs, that's what I was doing. I was sitting on the edge of the bed. That's what I was doing. I was sitting on the edge of the bed.
And he was like, Amanda, like I don't even know one like Amanda.
I knew who he was talking about. And then you said to me, you said, you could do it. You could do it. And then you hugged me and you said, now, I ain't say it was going to be easy.
Because I don't want to give you make you go in with a cape and then you think you could do something. And you say, oh man, he said I could do this. And then you faint. Nah, we can do things, but we do hard things, man. Burying your mother, I was late to my mother's funeral. You don't want to go.
And then, some people know, some people don't. My brother, brother after me who's incarcerated.
Did he get a chance to come?
So the funeral hall called me and said, hey, they was a little late. Bring your brother. What do you want to do? Because, they're not allowed to
intermingle with people. He's supposed to stay by himself, right?
Right. So I said, she was like, do you want to cut the viewing short or do you want to cut his visit short? And I said, no, don't cut his visit short. Let him, but, my brother being who he is, about 20 minutes later, I get another phone call saying that my brother said he don't want to hold up the family. So he cut his time short. So I'm telling them not to cut his time short, and he telling them that he's gonna cut his time short. So he ended up cutting his time short.
I'm quiet because now I'm trying to hold back my tears because I knew what the day was gonna entail, and I knew all that but you just don't know the logistics of a lot of things. And that's one thing that I always tell people: riding behind that hearse or sitting in that front pew is different when you go into somebody's funeral. It's different when you got to sit at the table with planning. It's different.
It, the obituary,
Yes.
the clothing. I don't think people know picking out the casket. I don't know.
And then you got to see them before the world sees them to make sure they look okay for everybody else to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think I've never in a million years. I've been to numerous funerals, but never did I think. I never knew what it really entails. It was.
So that was your first. That was your first rodeo.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Down to the look. Thank God for a great support system, man.
Yeah. What has grief taken from you that you haven't gotten back yet? There's a song that Jax loves by Pastor Mike, a gospel song called "I Want It." I hope I'm saying "I Want It All Back," or is it Ty Tribbett? I think it's Ty Tribbett. "I Want It All Back." Like, he's basically talking to the devil, like, everything you took from me, and he start naming things. I want it all back. When I'm in the car and I'm singing that song, I'm not even thinking about the devil. I'm thinking about grief, because grief takes so much from you.
It takes a lot.
It takes your smile.
It takes your peace.
Yes.
You said something about anxiety earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I went months without getting sleep. I worry. I'm constantly thinking about death.
That was one of my questions. Like, I skipped it, but did it force you to confront your own mortality? You think about your own death, and
I'm constantly thinking about death. I'm constantly worried if my husband and my children aren't in my sight.
Yeah, that's the worst.
If they're not in my sight, I'm worrying.
Right.
And so it got to the point. It got to the point
magic,
where I don't even like the phone ringing.
Ooh.
I don't even like the phone ringing. At 10 o'clock, my phone automatically goes on Do Not Disturb.
D&D. You don't want to hear that shit to the next day.
Mm-hmm. I don't even like the phone ringing. One of our other friends, Sharifa, that's a thing with us. Phone calls with bad news. Like, I know
Reefa, shout out to Reefa. Me and Reefa don't talk as much as you and I and me and Mish. But Reefa will let somebody know that somebody died.
Mm-hmm.
And
I always know when she coming with it. I always know when she coming with it.
Reefa got a call in her life. Reefa got to slow down. She got a call in her life, and she doesn't even know. And it's not to be the death caller. And every time,
I always know when, like, I look at the phone like, oh, Sharifa calling me, is such and such time. Hello? What's wrong? What's wrong? She was one of the hardest people that I had to call to tell about my mother.
Because your mother, people don't know. When we say we grew up together, I don't know what people mean, what people think we mean. But if you know how it was a little enclave, a family, the townhouses. Like, nobody's door was locked. Yeah.
Listen, I was the youngest. Y'all was like grown, and I was
trying to drive. Somebody I think you try to drive in my Pathfinder.
I was the youngest. If I said I was with y'all, my mother, all right, she knew I was good.
So telling Reefa was like harder than telling the boys.
It was. She was the hardest person I had to tell.
Friends and family, They mean well. Even social media. But what is one thing you wish people would not say to someone that has just lost their mom?
Well, it's the typical cliches. That question, are you all right? I know it's coming from a good place, but no, I am not. That question, is there anything that I could do for you? I know it's coming from a good place, but no, it is not.
Right.
Because I lost my mother and you can't bring her back. That's what I want. So when you ask me, is it anything that you can do? Anything that I need her. So it's I know it's coming from a good place, but it's just like when the question is asked, you got that look on your face like. And another thing, and another thing that people are don't make my grief about you.
Yeah.
Don't
we gonna see who the saddest now. We're gonna have a sad contest. You gotta tell me about your grief experience.
Yeah, don't make my grief about you.
That's a good one. Don't make my grief about you. What do you ask God for?
I ask. So it's funny because when you asked me to do this, and I immediately say yes.
You said yes real fast. I was like,
I immediately say yes because it was a moment in time where I was getting something, I think picture of something out of the closet, and I pulled something down, and the book fell out the closet. Right? It did. The book fell out of the closet, and I took it and I stuck it back up in the closet. And then I sat down. I sat down for like 5 minutes, and I pulled it back out the closet, but I just set it on the TV stand in my sight. I didn't open it, but it was in my sight. And one night, it had been in my sight for a couple weeks, sitting on the TV stand, just in my sight. And this was a night that everybody was asleep, and I cried.
You're gonna make me cry right now.
I cried.
You let it go.
I let it go. And I looked at the book, and I said, God, help me help somebody.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So when you hit me up, it was immediate because that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Right.
I asked God to help me help somebody.
And look, and this is proof that God answers prayers. I know you probably was like, okay, God, I see you.
Absolutely. Wow. So yeah, it is.
So you want to help somebody.
I want to help somebody.
Even in what you're going through.
Even what I'm going through.
That's kind of hard to. You have to be a giver for that to happen. You have to be. My pastor used to say that's heavy lifting. You have to be a heavy lifter. That's heavy lifting.
Because I feel like if I'm constantly saying, I trust God, God is this, God is that.
I'm gonna be right back. Go ahead, I'm listening.
If I'm constantly saying, I trust him, I have to trust that I'm gonna be okay.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But it might be somebody who's not that connected with God, So I gotta
Those
be
are the
there.
hard nuts to crack.
I gotta be their connection. I need for them to see me go through the motions, not be okay, be okay.
Come on.
Because if I can't tell you how to be when I'm a mess. If I'm a mess, you gonna look at me and say, well, she a mess. How am I listen to her? She a mess.
But those are people you listen to, though. You go through the mess and then you come out on the other side, and I can say, I'm gonna tell you what I'm here to do.
I could be a mess, but I need you to see that I'm okay too. And
this was my mess.
Listen.
This was my mess. I put my mess on the pages.
And that, listen, it was for a reason. I'm glad you listened to God. Just like I'm glad you listened with this. I'm glad you listened with the book. I know that you had start, stop, and then you was like, all right, here we go.
And
it came at the right time.
Yeah, and then after I'm riding the wave, like, oh, I got a book. And then, the real break drop.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, all right.
And the funny thing is, what I call the brick drop is I wrote a book about grief, and I thought that I had it all figured out, and I put it in a book, and everybody's coming to me like I'm just Guru, and then my brother literally drops dead. And what do you say to me? And I know people don't know what to say to me because they literally said, hey, you wrote a book, you got this. And I know those were very well meant intentions, but there was something like different.
You know what I said?
Like I couldn't speak.
I said, when it happened, I prayed for you hard. I prayed hard. And then I said, God, how do you go from letting her write a book about grief?
I'm glad you said that.
And then strike her like that.
Yeah. But I you know what? I realized, and I said to, I forget who I was talking to. I talked to my friends so much about so many things that I realized sometimes, as much as things affect us, they're not always about us. Highways are 4 lanes, and you could be driving along in the highway, and somebody else in the lane is texting and swerve over and kill you, and have your family saying, God, why did you do this? No, this wasn't about you. This was about somebody else's stuff that just swerved into your lane that you got to deal with. So we take on, he was my brother, yeah, but that was about something between him and God. So before I go off on a tangent and need something stronger than Moscato and red wine, if you knew Saint could drop by tomorrow and visit, what would your ideal, with no pain, because she's had 20 years of chronic pain.
You didn't even have to say that because that's where I was going.
What would the ideal day spent together look like?
Ideal, because she was so limited.
Right.
I will, she didn't get the chance to travel on the island and just relax and just be free.
Right.
Like that would be ideal.
Maybe she's on the beach right now. I'm from now on sitting on the beach.
That would be ideal.
Caicos, as far as I'm concerned.
It was funny because, when she was in the nursing home and talking to me, and we, like I said, it was one day it went from, oh, let's go over this discharge plan. And we talked, and I remember her saying, oh, because it was March, and she was like, oh, you gonna make me some oxtails? And then she said, oh, and then on Mother's Day, I want crab legs.
She was planning.
And she said, I want crab legs but put the seasoning on the side. I don't want a whole lot of seasoning on it. And I was like, oh, okay. So that would be ideal for me, to take her to a place that she had never been. Take her to a place that she had never been, pain free.
Wow.
I feel like, because of her limitations, I was cheated a long time ago.
Yes. Ooh. Wow. That's something. And sometimes I'm just speechless. Like I
was
just know I'm
I
learning.
was
My
cheated
wife.
a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I never thought this.
Right. She was limited, but she was here. You would have taken those limitations over nothing at all.
Right. And yeah, I never thought this.
Have you found peace?
Nope, I'm still seeking peace.
Ooh.
I'm still seeking peace. It's new, it's fresh. I go through ups, down, and I have a bad habit of, like, I get it out, but I get it out to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to share. Like, my husband, he is
A husband.
a husband. Like, if
Yeah.
he could, he would fix it all. But
Yeah.
sometimes I have to I I have to kind of, it's something that you can't fix. I'm always going to be missing that piece of the puzzle. Always. It's something that you can't fix. I want to know, I try to cope with it,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't fix it. And he tries to fix it because that's what he's supposed to do.
So when we gonna start some therapy?
In the process.
Okay.
In the
That's what I like
process.
to hear.
Because
I like to hear.
look at what I do. I can't tell people,
Yeah.
hey, go do this, this is how you, and I do it myself.
Well, this is what I'm gonna tell you. I done moved. I don't see you on the drop off no more. I should love to see you on the drop off. Hey sis, and the wave. But the best thing I did was move to Virginia Beach because I live 10 minutes from the water and I can go put it in the water, whether it's 80 degrees or whether it's 10 degrees. The beach doesn't close.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go put it in the water. And that's what I'm offering you. It's 6 hours, man. Get in the car and say, look, even if you got to bring, because you got 3 kids now, even if you got to bring the youngest, sis, I'm coming down. I can't. Work is doing what it do. Life is lifing. I grills don't matter to me in the winter. I'm coming. I'm like, all right. So that's what I'm offering my friends. Like, cause I see, I watch, and I know you haven't put it anywhere. You know how I know you haven't put it anywhere? Because you have become funnier. You're hilarious on social media, but that's just your pain. Because that was me.
Absolutely. And I write it. I write it out. It's funny. I journal. So your questions, I was like, ooh, these good journal entries. Look at that.
Yeah. That's all right.
I gotta write it. When I get it out, I have to write it out. I have
right. Right.
Depending on what I'm feeling, it might be a song. I remember one day, early in the morning. I get up early in the morning.
Yeah.
My husband went to work. Everybody was still asleep, and I got in the car and hit a playlist, and I drove all the way. I drove 78 until I felt like turning back around.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. What'd you listen to?
So the playlist was funny because it went from, you know what I like. You know who I like. You know.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
went
yeah.
from, and then it did somehow, some way, it went to some trap music. Then it went to gospel, and I said, well, listen, if that's how the spirit gonna move, that's how it's gonna move. If that's what
You
it's
don't
going.
always be Faith Evans to me, though. Every time
Listen,
I play Faith, I was like, "Get it, sis." You just run through my mind. But music is when I seen you online listening to Mary, I said, "Yeah, like I could tell." I don't know what this gift that God has given me or this perception, but you know what album I listen to. Even when you grieving love songs mean
mm-hmm,
different things
mm-hmm,
because I listened to her that second album
mm-hmm,
on repeat.
mm-hmm.
The song "Closer to Me," I'm sure it's a love song, but it sounds when she say "been inconsistent for a minute, don't leave me." That sounds like something you would say to a loved one. Like, I know our relationship wasn't the best, but
Mm-hmm.
please don't go.
Don't go.
And I know this is about you and your mother, but in the emergency room where we're waiting to hear about my brother, that's what that song speaks to my, like, I know he going through some stuff, but this can't be it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you grieving, even love songs take on
Take on a different meaning.
different meaning.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can make it through the My Life album, you good.
Listen, I had to listen to it, listen to it. It was her birthday. It was Mary's birthday.
It was. So
And
this one upstairs is.
it was like, all right, let me listen to Mary. Then, I've been dealing with a lot of losses lately. So it was Mary's birthday, and it was also my mentor's birthday.
Yeah.
Rayvon.
Yeah, I seen that.
It was his birthday on the 11th too, and I know he was a Mary fan, so that's what made me throw on the Mary. Let me throw on the Mary real quick.
Yeah.
And listen to the
I
whole
I have a
thing.
new term that I'm dubbing. It's called sad happy.
Mm.
My friend just lost her brother, and she hits me up every now and again. And I was trying to tell her, I said, people always think that I always have it together, but I always say like moving here was the best thing in my life, and I'm so happy, but I'm so sad.
Yeah. Right. That's how I feel with the house.
It's like sad. I'm sad happy. Yeah.
I'm so happy. Like the happy is, but then I'm sad because this was a conversation that I had with my mother, how bad I wanted a house. And she was like our biggest cheerleader. So anything big or small, she was, and I just can't stop thinking about that I couldn't share this news. And so I play her reaction, what her reaction would have been. Like, I just think about in my head. I play it out in my head. What her reaction would have been when I, give her the phone call, like, Ma, we got the house. Like, I play the whole
so
thing
proud
down to,
because if she had you at 15, you was more than just her baby. Because she could have not had you.
mm-hmm.
At 15 years old, she could have not had you.
Right.
For whatever reason, she had you. And that's enough to celebrate. I'm going to leave you with that. She didn't have to have you at 15, but she did.
Mm-hmm.
And she could have gave up a long time ago, 20 years worth of chronic pain. But she didn't.
She didn't. So
she held on.
So that's
for
why
you.
when you said, what's the best advice she ever gave you? It was it was her actions. Like, it was her actions. Her actions was the best advice she ever gave me. Watching her just care and be kind, and even when things was stacked against her, she found a reason, she found a reason to find some sort of happy. throughout all her pain, she found if it was gathering, cookout, dinner. So that's how, I feel like that's how I'm honoring her memory. I'm doing the things that, that's what she taught me to do, and I'm a do it until the wheels fall off.
Who's her favorite artist?
Gladys Knight.
Gladys Knight.
Whitney Houston, of course. Stevie Wonder. Oh, and Luther. How could I forget Luther?
Luther.
And Michael Jackson. I'll never forget my mother calling me when Michael Jackson died. I was in the middle of interviewing a family, and when I looked at the phone, it was my mother.
So you gonna pick up?
I don't care what I'm doing. Hello, you okay? And she was like, Michael Jackson died. And I was like, what? You calling me like frantic like this? Because I love me some Michael Jackson, but I'm working.
Oh my God.
She was devastated. Devastated.
Sis, this conversation was way more than I expected. And I'm grateful. I'm not even gonna cut the time. We're gonna rock out with this whole hour. I know Misha's gonna be like, Misha, she's gonna check the tape and be like, bitch. Everybody think me. I'm gonna have to double back and have another conversation.
You might have to have a group around them.
Yeah. But what's dope is that this software I have, we can have it where I forget who that was that asked on the comments. We could do lives, and we could have people call in.
Mm-hmm.
So soon that I have ideas in my mind that what I'm gonna do next after the soul session is over. We got 2 more people, and then after the soul sessions is over, I'm really thinking about what's next that's gonna be impactful. Because if I'm not impactful, if we're not helping, if we're not healing something, then I'm just Wendy Williams. And that's not what God called me to be.
Right.
So I'm gonna leave you with, she had you. So you gotta live.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get up and play those records, and you gotta live. And take care of you.
I gotta take care of me.
You gotta take care of you.
And I realized it, I was going through the motion. This fresh for me, right?
Yeah.
It's fresh, but I also recognize that if I'm not okay, I can't be okay. I can't be there for who I need to be there for. My husband, my children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all your other roles become affected.
So, and that's what was happening in the first 6 months or so. It was. I wasn't getting no sleep. It was rough, and nobody knew unless you. I cried every day, every single day for 6 months. I cried every single day, multiple times a day, but nobody would know. Nobody would know because, and when I say nobody, I'm talking about the people I live with.
Right.
I'm talking about the people.
You want them to think you was okay.
I'm talking about the people I live with. Shortly after my mother's funeral, I went to my close friend's wedding in Texas.
Yeah, I seen you twirling and smiling
But what you didn't see is, the tradition. You have what? Traditionally, what you do? You have a son and mother dance.
Yeah.
I don't even think he knew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he even knew that I broke down.
But you know what love is, sis? That you got, I'm gonna cry again because I love you in his relationship. Love is that you went. Because you could have still sat in your grief. You went at one of the most important times of his life.
And he said
he
to me,
knows that.
he said to me, he was like, I know, I understand if you don't come, I understand. And I said, no, I'm gonna be there.
Right.
Because I remember when I told my mother he was getting married, and she said, Terrell getting married. It was like so, but I went and I broke down, and he probably don't. I don't even think he knows that happened.
Yeah, I was so happy. We so good. This goes to show that we just talk. I was watching the best. I'm about to big him up. I was watching the Best Man Chronicles, and I was like, I rewinded it. I was like, wait a minute, and I text. I hit him. I was like, did I just see you on TV? Yeah, so like
super proud. Listen, I brag about y'all. I brag about my friends. I brag about my family.
I wish we could bottle us up and sell us. And sell
we a rare breed
to people, because people need like that.
Like
people
I got it from, and I'm not just talking like, I'm talking from childhood all the way through. I got something that can't be brought. You can't put a price on it. It's solid, and I appreciate it. And I make sure I tell people all the time how much I appreciate them. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. We don't even have to talk every day, but I know who's going to show up, and I appreciate it, because I know, I show up, and I know who's going to show up for me. I really do. And when I say I was just so like humble and honored when you asked me to do this, I was like, oh yeah. And I think it was a coworker of mine, she knew that I was doing it. She was like, you nervous? You ready? And I was like, yeah, I'm a little nervous. And I was like, but I'll be okay. I'm gonna be okay. Yeah. This okay. I gotta be okay, because I asked God to make me okay.
You okay?
I said, help me help somebody.
Yeah, I could, and the fact that that's what you want to do, I could look at you and see that you're okay, but you everybody's got work to do. I got work to do. I still need to do work. We need to constantly do work on ourselves. But
it was funny,
if you're not okay now, you're gonna be okay.
When I listened to Tanya and Tamisha, and I was like, oof, I got work to do, because
we all got work to do.
I got work to do, because if
listen, I went on a work trip from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I was in a bar crying on Tuesday night. So we all got work to do, and we're gonna do the work together. I love you. Thank you.
Love you too. Appreciate you.
I'll talk to you later.
All right.